What's your bar exam story? Do you have one? Maybe you haven't even thought about having a bar exam story or why it might be important. If so, stick around because in today's message about bar exam peace, I'm going to talk about why having a good bar exam story makes a big difference in your results. I'm Jackson Mumey, the owner and founder of Celebration Bar Review, and for the past 25 years I've helped thousands of bar takers, people just like you, to make their next bar exam the last bar exam. If you want to know more about how we do that, check out the links on this page after this video. Well, today we're continuing a series that I've titled Exam Peace, two words that don't seem to go together for most people, and we've already talked about a couple of items in that form already, and it's been interesting some of the comments I've gotten to those two messages. A fair number of people have contacted me to say, I'm not sure that I quite get this idea of being at peace with the exam because I feel like I'm actually at war with the test. And that's really the point I'm trying to make here. I don't think you have to be at war with the bar exam. In fact, that probably hurts your ability in the long run to be successful on the test. Instead, what we're trying to do in this series of brief messages is to give you ways in which you can put the test in its proper perspective, its right place, making peace with it so you can be the most productive and pass. Now, a few years ago, I finished reading a book by one of my favorite authors. His name is Donald Miller. You might know him from a very popular book he wrote called Blue Like Jazz, but he's written a number of other books. He's an interesting guy. I guess I could say he's a Christian writer, but maybe that's not fair to pigeonhole him in that narrow a box. He really writes from a faith basis, but he's also, to me, a pretty authentic, transparent, maybe even a tortured soul. Well, in any event, one of his more recent books is called A Million Miles and 1,000 Years. It's a quick read, but it's a wonderful story, a wonderful book to read. And if you haven't picked it up, I'd encourage you to do so. And if you've read any other of Donald Miller's work, I think you'll really like this one. But of course, Blue Like Jazz is the famous one. In any event, in this book, titled A Million Miles and 1,000 Years, I found myself going through the first third, and even when I went back to it, I had no idea what he was really talking about at the beginning of the book. And then suddenly it all kind of came into focus, and I said, oh, that's the point. And for me, the aha moment in this book, A Million Miles, 1,000 Years, was the concept that in the book they were going to make a movie about Blue Like Jazz, one of his other books. And Miller was trying to figure out how to write a story about his book, which was really a story about his life. He started doing some research into what good storytelling is. And what he discovered was that we all live stories in our lives, but that what he described as the need for a better story was what really separated the significant lives from the ones that were just kind of treading water. Now, that notion of a better story stuck with me, and it's stayed with me ever since. And when I think about the bar students that I've worked with over the last 25 years or so, I would say the people who were successful were the ones who had better stories. They were the people who seemed to be most at peace with the entire process of studying, taking the test, waiting for the results, dealing with those results, whether they were good or bad, and then moving on. People who had a better story were those who had a better reason, a bigger picture for why they were going through the test. Now, I realize as I record this that there are a lot of people in law school, in that part of their law school career, where literally they are just treading water. You're just trying to get through it all. It's your last year of law school, and you're just going through the motions. I get that. In this environment, when you're just going through the motions, just trying to graduate and be done, there aren't a whole lot of jobs, at least today, out there waiting for you. It is a scary time to be in the legal profession. And you might be saying to yourself at that point, well, what have I done? I've gotten myself into six-figure debt. I've given up years of my life. I put myself through Socratic dialogue hell. And for what? I don't even know if I can find a job that I'll like or find meaningful when I get out. I don't know how I'll even pay my debts. And I certainly don't know what the possibilities are. Well, unfortunately, while there's a lot of truth in those statements, when someone comes to take the bar exam in that state of mind, I can tell you for a fact that it is not a good experience for them. It's not fun, it's not rewarding, it's not productive. Not for us, not for them, not for their families, not for their friends. And one of the problems and one of the ways that I find this person who doesn't have a better story for what they're doing, I can recognize them actually pretty early on. They'll contact me to talk about taking our course, or to look at how we might be able to help. And they'll actually be very aggressive, very confrontational. They'll say things like, tell me right away, what makes your course better than blank blank bar review? You know, we're not sitting at a table on a law school campus. I didn't solicit them. It's a bit much. It actually kind of blows me back in my chair. There's sort of this anger about, the implication, well, you're a bar review, you're here to cheat me. You should prove to me that you should have, whatever my number of dollars are, I'm going to be a tough, cynical, hard-edged consumer. Okay, I get that. I think it's useful to be a good consumer. I definitely want you to know what you're doing when you purchase a bar review, and I want you to be a smart consumer. That's why we talked about in exam piece number 2, not following the crowd. But it's really an interesting phenomenon. The people that don't have a particularly good story about why they're taking the exam start from a position of anger right from the beginning. And that's my point. They're angry that they have to take the exam. They're angry that they had to go through law school. They're angry, perhaps, that they're even coming into this profession. Now, I also hear from people who are already licensed in one jurisdiction, and now for whatever reason they have to get licensed in another state. You want to talk about anger. The cognitive dissonance there is incredible. Someone will say, I passed the X, Y, and Z bar exams in those years, this year, and this year. Why do I have to do this again? Well, I don't know. Hey, I don't make the rules. I can help you pass, but I'm not the rule maker here. Again, this kind of anger at the system, it doesn't make for a very good life story. Now, you can tell when people don't have a very good life story or a good reason for this part of their story because ultimately they are embittered, angry, and hostile. They're also incredibly anxious. Now, I want to compare that kind of person to someone who's decided that taking the bar exam is instead the gateway to something that's really important in the next phase of their lives. This is the chance, they would say, to be the first member of my family with a professional career. It's a chance to change my financial future. It's a chance to do the work I've wanted to do for years in my community with people who need help with the law. But I couldn't do it because I was a member of the bar. I get those responses from people in our webinars all the time. They'll say things like, it's a chance to come to a new country. It's a chance to come to a new place. It's an ability to help the people that are important to me in this place that I'm coming to. When I talk to those kinds of people, the challenges for them oftentimes are actually greater than for the person who's just treading water. It might be that I'm talking to someone for whom English is not a first language, or someone who's had to really put together going to law school at night while they took care of the kids, or using a correspondence course, or struggling to get into law school, or struggling to get out of law school. Those people really have motivation. They have a desire and a drive that makes them sense or gives them the sense of something bigger happening, a better story that's happening. It's really pretty amazing. I get to talk to a lot of those people in our interviews that we do after the exam results come out. And let me tell you that inevitably the best stories, the ones that touch the most people, are the stories in which the hardships and the difficulties that were overcome are the biggest. I've seen that in my own life as well. There are seasons in my own life when I certainly felt like I'm compelled to move to a bigger and better story. And then there are times, frankly, when I feel like I'm just treading water. But I know that my most productive work has always come when I thought that there was a bigger, better picture out there, a better story to tell, something more than just me and getting through the next day. Sure, there are times when getting through the next day is really the goal, and it's a great goal to have. Sometimes, however, we're really motivated by the bigger, better story that we have in our lives to reach beyond the daily goal. So here's my point. If you're struggling with the bar exam, even at the early stage, and the thought of taking the bar exam makes you feel ill, I would suggest that one of the things you want to do is to sit back and ask yourself, what's my story? What is it that I want to do? Why do I want to be a member of the bar? In our webinar, I asked the question this way: what difference would it make if you passed the bar? How would it change your life? And the answers are extraordinary. It doesn't have to be something noble and grand. It literally could be, I want to pass the bar exam so I can get a job and pay back my loans and start to live the life that I think I deserve. That's a pretty good story. Or it could be, I want to pass the bar exam so I could take that fabulous job as an associate at Big, Big, Huge, and Enormous in downtown New York and be the lawyer I've always wanted to be and crush everyone else. That might be your story, and it's a better story. The point is, if you don't have a story, if you're doing this because you just have to do it, what a painful, awful time is ahead for you. What a struggle when you hear that your studies aren't going so well, or you've got to do something in your study that feels uncomfortable or new to you, or you're giving up time away from other things that are important to you to study for the bar exam. If you have that picture in your mind, I can assure you that the next few months will be nothing less than torture. And here's the worst part. For all of that effort that you put in and that torture that you put yourself through, you will not do better on the exam. In fact, when I go back and think about the people who had the most incentive and the best stories, those were the people who overcame the most and passed the bar exam most consistently. You know, I'm talking about people that have failed the bar exam 8, 9, 10, 15, 20 times before they came to us, and then they passed. And they passed, I think, in large part because they had a compelling story. And once we uncovered that story, and once we gave them a vision about why passing the bar was more important than continuing to fail it, everything changed. You know, if you've taken this test and you've not been successful in the past, if you felt let down by the big box bar review, I would also tell you that one of the things you need to do is to reach a point of peace with the exam by coming up with a better story for your life. If you're struggling to pass the bar exam, sit down, take some time, think about what your story is. What is it that's driving you forward? And if that story isn't compelling enough to make you do what it takes to be successful, to try something different, to take a different approach, to trust yourself enough, and to trust the process, then you need a better story. Well, if you get the opportunity, I really encourage you to read any of Donald Miller's books. He's a great writer, very witty, bright guy. And I hope, like Donald, that you find a better story. And I hope you'll share that story with me as well. Over the years that we've been doing our webinar, when we asked the question about what difference it would make to pass the bar exam, the stories that people share are absolutely breathtaking, but they're nothing compared to the stories that people share after they've passed and they come on our interviews and they talk about what they had to do to get there. And when they do, they consistently talk to me about the peace that they find in knowing that they can make that happen. Well, that's our message for today. We'll be back for the next episode in Bar Exam Peace. So we'll be talking about another way that you can find peace when it comes to studying for the bar. Thanks for being with me. Bye-bye.